Welcome back to the Dean Obeidallah Show. We're live here Friday, February 7th. It is the first What Just Happened of February. Very exciting. A lot going on. And joining us, three returning champions. Nida Khan is back. Journalist. She's written for Huffington Post, Essence, CNN, a radio producer, and so much more. Hey, Nida, how are you?
Hello, Dean. I am, I think awake. I'm so tired. It's been a crazy week and actually like a crazy start to the year. I'm like, it's just been nonstop nuts and madness. So yeah, but I'm here. Thank you for having me on.
Sure. Thanks for being on. I don't know anything what you're talking about because everything's been so great. I'm not sure why you'd be stressed out about anything. Why can't you sleep? Why is it 3 in the morning and I'm up staring at things? Also joining Erik Bransteen, my longtime friend, is back. Very funny comic. He's been on Fox. He's been on SiriusXM, this show, and others. He's written jokes for Saturday Night Live's Weekend Update and more. Hey, Erik, how are you? Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm losing my mind. I just realized this, like during the first Trump administration, every morning I would wake up and go, what did he do every morning, right?
Right.
Now it's like, what did he and Elon Musk do every morning? So now it's double now.
It's not good. And Musk, well, let me introduce my good friend Scott Blakeman, also a buddy of mine, national headliner, as a comedian, appeared on countless TV shows. I can't even name one of the funniest political comics in America. And we also co-created the show called Stand Up for Peace, which we'll be doing in internment camps somewhere in America. Once we're both put in, Jews and Muslims all put together. I hope they put us in the same, they should do it by, it's not religion, by ideology. Like all the liberals put us in one camp. I don't want to be with right-wing Muslims either. I have nothing in common with them. I want liberal Jews, liberal Christians, liberal atheists, Buddhists, whatever, liberal. So Scott, good to see you. Thanks for
It's
joining us
great
all
to
over
be
in
in,
San
and,
Francisco
and
today.
everyone's been saying just these last 2.5 weeks. So I'm exhausted too because fascism is really exhausting, So and it's 9
I
a.m. in San Francisco. We're doing this. So anyway, it's been quite a 2.5 weeks, and yeah, but it's just great to talk about it.
I
We'll get through it that way.
We have to. I tell audiences like Trump is aging me. I'm like, look at me, I'm 23. Look what he's done to me. I was in a boy band just weeks ago. Now this guy comes in. I got no future. It is unbelievable what we're going through. You mentioned Elon Musk, by the way. This is true. Earlier this morning, Elon Musk posted, and I'll read it so that you know I'm not joking at all. He literally posted online, I love Donald Trump as much as a straight man can love another man. And on some level, it's funny or trolly, but on another level, there is an element of him begging for his life here. Like if you look at it a different way, it's like Saddam Hussein's inner circle saying, "Oh, I love you so much," and the next day the guy's whacked. I mean, this is what happens. You're in until you're not. And then when you're out, you're dead. So I mean, Erik, you were responding first. What do you think? I mean, it's a very thing. And Time Magazine, their cover today, in case you haven't seen it, is Elon Musk behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office. It's him, no Trump at all, just him sitting there with a mug like he's running everything. And I wonder what's up. If that's why he did that tweet, because Trump's not going to like that.
Yeah, I saw that tweet too. I kind of read the same thing. I'm like, he's probably under the gun a little bit. I mean, he's feeling the pressure. I don't know if you had to guess the over under of how long he's going to be in office. I mean, Musk is going to be around for, would you say 6 months or what do you say?
I think one of them is gone in 6 months. Trump or Musk. Like you can't coexist. I wrote an article recently, and I'll bring you in here, how Elon Musk to me is like Rasputin. And with the Tsar Nicholas, then it wasn't the people that rose up and got rid of Rasputin. It was the jealous other noblemen because Rasputin comes out of nowhere, gets really close to the Tsar Nicholas and his wife, and ultimately they invite him over. They give him cake that has poison. They shoot him in the face. They beat him. They tie him up and they throw him in the river. And it was all the noblemen. It wasn't at all. And the Tsar still liked him a lot. So I wonder if that's how it ends. Like, because you see rumblings and articles about others in the inner circle not liking this meteoric rise. Don't forget, Musk only got in the Trump circle since July. That's it.
Right.
Last year, he was never part of it. And these other people have been there for years, and here's Musk running everything. So what do you think, Nathan? How do you think it ends?
So he may not have been directly part of the inner circle, but he was definitely a part of this entire right-wing conservative movement. Let's not get it twisted, right? And that's the
Mhm.
reason why he took over Twitter, which I still call Twitter. So this has been in the works for a long time. Like he's been there. This has been happening. And remember, even when he went over to Israel and met with Netanyahu, there was audio that was released where Netanyahu said something like, "You're going to be the real president, or you're going to really be running things," which I find fascinating in and of itself. You can look
Wow. I got to
later.
find that
Yeah,
audio.
yeah, you can look. I think it was audio or it was reporting. I can't remember. It was last year. together when he went over there. So I think as long as it's mutually beneficial for the two of them, he will still be there. As long as they're both able to grift to make their money. Elon is on his way to becoming a trillionaire, which is why he's doing what he's doing. So I think as long as they both continue to benefit, he'll still be there. But as soon as, something financially happens, then you're going to see somebody throw somebody under the bus.
And Scott, what about you? Where do you come down on the Elon Musk, Donald Trump, who has an earlier expiration date? Scott? Scott froze?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's Bob. Just ask for Bob.
No, I'm sorry. No, Scott, can you not hear us?
I didn't hear anything. I think it says the connection's not stable, which is probably Trump. But
Darling.
What do you think it ends with for Musk?
Well,
or is it Trump? Who does it end for first?
Well, the only hope I have, because all the other Republicans are just falling into line. They say the same words. That's what happens in a dictatorship. And already Steve Bannon is battling with Musk, and I think ultimately Trump doesn't want the spotlight stolen from him. But what Musk is doing, we're talking about who's the worst villain. They're both horrible. What Musk is doing is really unprecedented. And with these 19-year-olds, there's more reasons to hate tech bros, but they've gone into the Treasury and they've got codes and they're changing codes. And and everyone's just going, well, that's Elon Musk. And so that ultimately is the most dangerous of a billion dangerous things that have happened in the last 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, it is alarming. It's like if you ever go to the Apple store, it's like a younger version of people who greet you when you walk in, and they're like children. It is, and they just roll their eyes when I come in. They're like, "Oh, here comes some old man and wants to know about his VCR or something." I'm like, "No, I'm here about my phone, you idiots."
But how bad is Elon Musk when you actually are starting to agree with Steve Bannon? Like, I'm on his side on a lot of things. That's how bad Elon Musk is.
I agree. That's a weird thing where Steve Bannon has said that Elon Musk is essentially an agent of the Chinese government. And that may be too far, maybe not. But what we know is that Elon Musk's business partner is essentially the Chinese Communist Party. His biggest factory outside of the US is in Shanghai, and it's where about 50% of all of his cars for the entire world are developed. He's got a battery factory now there in China. The loans he got were from the Chinese Communist Party banks that you can only get it through approval with the Chinese Communist Party. And while technically they're not partners, they made some unique agreement. That's not the reality is that Elon Musk, and there are articles, people, and I encourage them to Google Elon Musk criticizing China. What you'll see are articles where he never criticizes China. Never. Their leaders, nothing. He'll criticize us, Germany, the UK, everyone, but he won't criticize the leaders of China because there's no room for that there. That's it. They take his factory.
Of course, absolutely. It's all about the bottom line. And let's not forget Apartheid Clyde, as you know, I love that nickname, Apartheid Clyde.
Me too.
Let's not forget his background, his family's background, where he comes from. And it's fascinating that you find him tweeting and retweeting people that are talking about bringing over white South Africans to the US, that we need to let them come into our country and settle here. It's just open season on the racism, the bigotry, and how they want to create some sort of white ethno state. It's not even hidden anymore. It's just in your face blatantly. And his entire Twitter feed is nothing but ranting and raving against everything from DEI to any progressive or quote unquote woke issue. It's just disgusting.
It has to be said, he has no position. He's not elected, appointed, it doesn't even exist. He's just this, rogue person doing incredible damage. And what's happening with USAID, which is just unfathomable. Well, what kind of sick, cruel human being you have to be? And it's, as of today, it's basically gone.
I know.
Which is going to, by the way, dismantle the ceasefire. Which is probably what Netanyahu wants anyway. But, they had 1,000 aid workers working on that. There's hundreds of millions of dollars needing to be dispersed. They've cut it down to like 70 people. It's insane. And first of all, even doing his sick America First policy, foreign aid helping people helps America, keeps, America secure. But, Musk is just, again, and also, totally no position or anything. And he's, as Nida said, he's of course represents like many, this white supremacist philosophy. And he just said, it's a criminal enterprise, USAID, shut it down. And then Trump echoed him and said, shut it down. And it's just, and everyone falls into line. And Marco Rubio says, no life-saving things will be touched, but they are. And hundreds of thousands, millions of people are going to die because of this.
I wonder, I sent everyone on the show topics in advance, and this was way near the
Sorry,
end,
I
but I think
didn't. You
you didn't see it. It's okay. Well, you'll get them all. These are, but with Trump, I don't know if there's more cognitive decline or not. It's very hard to say. He literally makes things up again. And he did. And there's things that don't really matter, except they matter in the moment. And he said this earlier in the week. He claimed that GOP Senator Tommy Tuberville, who used to be a football coach, it's true, college football coach, and he said about Kansas City Chiefs star Patrick Mahomes that, his quarterback was named Mahomes, so about Tommy Tuberville. And he was a great college coach. And I said, how good was he? And he goes, he's talking about Mahomes. I know this is a weird way to phrase it, but essentially, Trump said that Tommy Tuberville told him that Patrick Mahomes made him the great coach he is. The reality is, Patrick Mahomes and Tommy Tuberville were never together. He never coached them. And then Tommy Tuberville tried to defend Trump by going, well, I never coached him, but I recruited him. And Patrick Mahomes go, you didn't recruit me either. So you have a liar he's delusional. Trump, there's nothing like Trump thinks this is a lie. He thinks this is true. The way he says it, that's why I keep telling people it's detached from reality. It's alternative universe stuff. I have no idea if he even knows what's going on. And it's going to get worse. As you get older, this stuff gets worse, not better. So, Eric, I mean, at what point do you think they just begin to hide Trump? Because that's what they do. They're going to keep the power, the Republicans. They're not going to give him up unless they have J.D. Vance. They're not going to do 25th Amendment stuff. They're just going to give him a cheeseburger, let him sign things, say a few words, go back in the room, come back out. We're going to clean out all of Gaza. Okay, go back to your room now. It's good. How do you feel? Good? Like, oh, yeah, that was good. Everyone's talking about it. Oh, here's another cheeseburger and a Diet Coke. What do you think, Eric? I mean, I think we're really getting to something in place.
I mean,
weird.
some people were saying, "Oh, Musk is going to run the country because he's so smart," and But I don't think. Do you think Musk is that smart? Because all he does is show videos of his rockets exploding all the time. He actually puts them up there too, like, and people are like, he's a genius. I'm like, is he though? I don't know.
No,
the genius thing is bullshit. What were you going to say, Nida?
No, I was saying he's definitely not, and he would not be where he was if he didn't have funding from his family and then also billions and billions of dollars in government contracts. That's the only reason why he is where he is. And now he's going to have the opportunity to amass even more wealth. And Dean, what you were saying about Trump, I don't think he's ever going to go. His entire thing is attention, is, the show, the art of the show, not the art of the deal, the art of the show. It's all spectacle and whatever. So he loves the limelight. He loves the forefront. He loves the attention, controlling the media narrative, the conversation. So I don't think he's ever going to move away from that. And at the end of the day, no matter what he says, what kind of rantings, incoherent stupidity, his followers, his supporters will always stand with him. He could literally say the sky is black or the sky is purple, and they'll be like, yeah, it is. And it doesn't matter. They said in the first term, the alternative facts. So at the end of the day, who cares if there's like actual validity or truth to what he's saying? They're going to stick with him.
And this is so much worse. I mean, I hate to say it, the first term was horrible, Muslim ban and his ranting and raving, but you actually had an establishment because he didn't think he would win. They had the Jeff Sessions, all those people who stood up to him because they had some sense of principle and now it's all the Pambandis, all the people he wants, and it's a pure dictatorship in 2 weeks. I mean, that's how quickly democracy, could crumble. And I think he's always, as Nida said, he's always going to be out there. But the fact is, he says something about Gaza, which is, beyond just absurd. I mean, it's ethnic cleansing. It's a war crime. It's continuation of the genocide that Israel's already perpetrated. And they all fall into line. They say, well, that's Donald Trump. That's thinking outside the box. Well, serial killers think outside the box too. I mean, you don't go, well, I like how you're thinking there. So not, a couple of them maybe say something. So it's all about boots on the ground. You could displace 2 million Palestinians as they like 1948 and, that's okay. But the boots on the ground, we're not going to do that part. So the big difference is they all fall into line. And question is, will there be any Republican
the idea of taking all the Palestinians out and putting them into essentially into a ghetto is a movie we saw in the History Channel. They may have seen it in the 1940s, and then you're going to have the Warsaw Uprising, but the Gaza Uprising instead. And at the end of the day, I mean, look, Netanyahu and the right wing people that run Israel, it's not mainstream, but the right wing ones would do it. They want the West Bank as well. They want it to be essentially Jewish only, not just not a Jewish democratic state, just a Jewish state. only. And like the right wing white supremacists here want a white ethno-nationalist state. And at best they tolerate us, but deep down they want us to leave. So it's a similar thing. And it's not going to happen. Rubio said, it's funny, he said too, he goes, he wants to make Gaza beautiful again. That's what he said, Rubio. But then apparently he also said, this isn't a real estate deal, so you can't do things like that. But I don't know if he said that publicly or got caught on a hot mic because it's being reported now that Rubio, so he might get fired. But I mean, Eric, when Trump goes out there, he even surprised Netanyahu that it wasn't as far as Netanyahu wanted to go. There was a smirk by Netanyahu when he looked over. It's like, because I think the part was that got Netanyahu was when Trump literally said, we'll own it. And Netanyahu's like, that's not, no, I want this. What do you can't colonize this. How dare you? This is going to be my beachfront. So do you think this goes anywhere? Or is it just a talking point or is it something real?
Well, didn't they say they might build casinos on there or something like that?
Why not?
But Trump's really bad at that casino thing. I mean, they all go bankrupt anyway. So maybe they build the casinos, they go bankrupt, and then all the Palestinians can move back in, you know? So it's
maybe. Nathan, what do you think if Trump builds housing there and he goes, oh, the Palestinians can come back? We're like, with your track record, you're not going to rent to black or brown people. So you're not going to let the Palestinians back in. It's going to just be white Europeans that are going to move back in. So Nathan, how concerning was to hear Trump say, we're going to remove the people there? And now he's like saying temporarily because they're telling him to say temporarily, but it won't be temporary. If they remove 2 million people, they're not going back.
And I've been very passionate about this. We've done several shows about this. And it's just disgusting the level of openness, openly saying ethnic cleansing and genocide and pushing all of them out, saying, oh, why doesn't Egypt take them? Why doesn't Jordan take them? And then, what he's going to end up doing, what I'm very fearful of, this is what's going to happen. They're going to push the Palestinians out of Gaza out and then do some sort of BS deal between Saudi Arabia and Israel. And then he's going to say, look, I made this unprecedented deal and it's going to be Abraham Accords 2.0. And then that will give them cover to say, oh, it's not anti-Arab, it's not anti-Muslim. And then they're all going to come up victorious and have even more wealth amongst themselves between Israel, Saudi, and the US. And meanwhile, the poor Palestinians will just be pushed out. That is like the worst case horrible scenario. And I really hope I'm wrong and that does not happen, but that's what I've been worried about for a long time. And what also really pisses me off is that we should have never been here to this point. Trump should not have been in office. He should not be doing this right now. Right. And Biden, and I'm going to go back to Biden. And, let me make it very clear. I do not agree with Muslims and Arabs not voting or participating in the election. And of course, definitely not with the very small percentage that voted for Trump. However, I understand why some people withheld their vote, the anger, the frustration, because Biden completely enabled Netanyahu for so long, gave him unchecked, untold amounts of money, support, the bear hug, allowed this horrific genocide to happen, tens of thousands of people killed, including like over 15,000 children murdered and killed, obliterated.
It's probably higher.
So that, that opening was there for Trump to then come in and say, hey, I'm going to make this deal and I'm anti-war, which is the most offensive thing of all, because even in his first term, he was the furthest thing from being anti-war. But now he's there and he's going to take this to the next level. And it's just going to be horrific for the Palestinians and for global stability. And who knows what's going to happen, like reverberation, over here too, in terms of protesters. You're seeing already that there's a lot of college students that are scared now because their visas are being canceled. They're going to be deported if they're protesting for Gaza. So you're already seeing that level of fear and silence happening here too.
Well, actually, there was.
Scott, let me ask you a quick question here, because the idea of you're Jewish and you're proudly Jewish, would it be concerning to you that if Netanyahu, in a way, if they were really to rip out 2 million people and the world saw this, that somehow it goes to defining Judaism? Because we always hear Israel is a Jewish state. Is that concerning? And is that something you feel like an obligation even more to push back against because you don't want people to think it's consistent with the tenets of the faith?
Well, I've always, as you know, through the Stand for Peace show, say I'm Jewish, but what being Jewish means is to pursue peace. And the Israeli government has nothing to do with Judaism. It's anti-Judaism, it's anti-anything moral and religious or spiritual. There's a bunch of criminals, thugs, and who are just vicious people. And the two people in his cabinet, by the way, this isn't just Trump thought of it. The Israeli cabinet's been toying this with a couple of years. In fact, last year, also Jared Kushner is on tape saying, it's beachfront property. And they use the same term, clean them out. I mean, as Nida said, we've heard this before. Maybe people would keep it quiet. And it's just openly there. And the lack of outrage by people who should, I mean, it's just embarrassing. First of all, it's going to make everyone less safe. Americans, Jews around the world, everybody. And it's the foundation of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is the displacement of Palestinians in 1948, the Nakba. So here they're going, well, it'll help if we just displace 2 million Palestinians again after we've destroyed their entire country. I love that Netanyahu sitting next to Trump, and Trump said, well, it's a demolition site. Well, how did it get that way?
And it's like, what a weird thing. I mean, someone just wasn't up to code. Where's the building inspectors in your area? Why weren't they there?
Natural disaster or something.
So in terms of that, I want people to know that's not what Judaism is about. That's not, to me, being a Jew is all about. I'm disgusted by it. I have no connection to what Netanyahu and Israel, Frank, the whole question of, what is a Jewish state? I mean, what should happen now? I mean, I've always pushed for a two-state solution, but I don't know. I think we need one state where Israelis, Palestinians live together equally and peacefully. And the only way this happens through a peaceful political resolution, not by what's happening here. And it's just alarming. And you see people on Facebook, well, ethnic cleansing is not technically violation of international law. I mean, so I think we've really just gotten so debased, and the cruelty that people have, and the 70,000 or more people killed. It's not just, it's wiped out the entire civilization, schools, hospitals. And by the way, with USAID now, so no humanitarian aid. Biden, one good thing they did was money to build hospitals in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. That's not going to happen. There's no with USA. So it's just sickening. And I hope.
Well, and the void gets filled, right?
Encouraging that there are a lot of Jews like myself here in New York, and great organizations like the New Israel Fund, Peter Beinart, who you interviewed.
Yeah, my buddy Peter. Yeah,
good guy. So there are plenty of Jews, and hopefully we'll get out on the streets and really show our outrage.
No faith is monolithic. I mean, every faith has, from very, very liberal to very, very conservative. Christianity has it. We see them killing women in red states now with the abortion bans. They don't care. And Muslims have extreme right, extreme left, everywhere in between. We all know that. Unfortunately, in Israel, the extreme right is the ones in power right now. And if it was a moderate party, it would be different. And here we have the extreme Christians in power. They've made it into a political movement. It's not a religious movement in either case anymore. It's just political. It's grabbing power and oppressing. And here in America, oppressing women based on religion. I can't believe where we are, Nitha, as a nation where literally 14 states ban abortion at day one of conception. That's purely based on the religious views of the far right Christians. And people are like, well, that's a states' rights thing. No, that's religious fascism. Like, in what world is this allowed? And what about the First Amendment? No establishment of religion, right in the first clause. And no one challenges on that. I don't understand what's happened to us.
Yeah, that including a million other things. And this is part of their process too, right? The whole shock and awe, like throw a gazillion things. So you can't keep track of every single horrific act or legislation or rights that are literally being stripped and taken away. And I just wanted to real quick just add to the point that Scott just made, that some of the biggest protests in support of Palestinians in Gaza, especially here in New York City, were done by our Jewish brothers and sisters, like organizations. Jewish Voices for Peace. So the solidarity is absolutely there. And especially among young people, you see that. And this is why many of them were pissed off and stayed home. It wasn't only the Muslim Arab vote. There were a lot of young people that did not participate. And I forgot the numbers. I think it was something like maybe 12 million or so that did not vote in 2024 that voted in 2020. So that in and of itself, could have swayed the election. But overall, Dean, and one more thing, sorry, I want to add about what Trump did yesterday too. He sanctioned the International Criminal Court.
I saw that.
The court, the ICC that, wants arrest warrant or has arrest warrants against Netanyahu and all of his cronies. Now Trump has sanctioned them, and this is where we are.
Well, also they were going after Putin, and Trump doesn't like that either. So that's part of it. But Eric, let's talk about something we can get behind, and that is taking that damn Panama Canal back, right? Come on, that's ours. What are you doing? Trump said, and this is lost on Sunday, he almost threatened war against Panama. He said about the canal, the U.S. is going to take the Panama Canal, or something very powerful is going to happen. So, Eric, what's very powerful? What do you think it means to him?
I don't know. I mean, probably something to do with farting, I think, with him for some reason. But I don't know. I think he's going to get the Panama Canal, and then he's going to go, I think, for Antarctica after that. I think that's his next one. What do you think about that?
Well, why not? So he'll pick Panama and go, okay, we got Panama, check. Greenland, it's more Greenland. And then who knows? I mean, maybe you take parts of Canada. This guy, he is the Putin of the Americas now. Trump, if he's serious, like we don't know what he's going to do. If it's going to be like he's really going be to do things or just talk about them. And by the way, the State Department on Thursday, because the entire administration has to lie with Trump, they claim that Panama had agreed that they will allow U.S. warships to go through the canal for free. But the president of Panama, Molino, said, I completely reject that statement. He goes, we didn't agree to that at all. And he goes, I don't have the power to do that. It's run by, and they also are like, China's not running the canal. The Panamanians are running the canal. So like, they're like, what are you talking about here? What is going on?
If Trump takes over, is he going to institute congestion pricing on the Panama Canal?
And New Jersey would be really upset. Like, and they're doing that there as well. Scott, what do you think? I mean, Trump is like threatening. I don't know what he's going to go through with. I don't know if he's going to send troops to Gaza to get rid of Palestinians. If he's going to send troops to Panama, if he's going to do things to Canada, to Greenland, to start a war with our NATO allies, where they invoke Article 5 of the NATO charter, and then they have to defend Denmark against us. Like, I don't know where he's going. And I don't know if it's just chaos, but deep down, do you think at some point he might use military force for, like, say, Panama, or at least put our warships out there blocking the canal, do a blockade?
Well, I mean, this is imperialism at its height, and I think he wants it. I think he sees himself now as the strong man, as a Viktor Orban, or Putin, or anybody, and he would definitely want to take over the Panama Canal because it's real estate. I want to get that skyscraper on 57th Street. It's real estate. Greenland, which, by the way, beyond remember it was a joke kind of 3 years ago, but I mean, he's serious about it. And I was reading, they have this. The Peter Thiel and these tech bros, they envision this state, a city state run by crypto. And I mean, it's, so he's serious about all that. If he could do it, he would. The one saving grace, possibly, hopefully for a while, is Republicans, for the most part, don't want to do boots on the ground and soldiers. I think that'd be a hard thing to sell. But the fact he even said, let's annex Canada, make it the 51st state. He wasn't
keep saying it.
Joke.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, and he was saying that the Canadians would want that. I'm like, they would lose all their health insurance. Why would they want that?
so much work.
Yep. And the Canadians are actually booing our national anthem.
That was funny.
Things are just great. America's great. America desperately alone. All right, let's take a break and come back. And I want to dream for a second that we can be Republicans and facts don't matter. And how freeing that would be for our lives as people, as comedians, as activists. And I'll give you an example when we come back. So let's take a quick break. We'll be back with more of What Just Happened with Nida Khan, Erik Bransteen, and Scott Blakeman right after this. And welcome back, Dean Obeidallah Show. We're continuing What Just Happened. And Nida Khan, Erik Bransteen, Scott Blakeman are all here. So this week, Republican Congressman Buddy Carter was on CNN just a couple of days ago and arguing for USAID to have their funding cut off. And he gave an example. He goes, I mean, look, they spent $15 million for condoms for the Taliban. And the anchor, Boris Lynch, is like, what did you just say? He's like, 15 million. And he goes, I think you're conflating the allegation they spent $50 million on condoms for Gaza, which is not true. But he's sort of like, I think goes, no. They spent $15 million. That's what they said. Condoms. And so he stuck to the story. Not true. Neither story is true. But isn't it great to be, you're a Republican member of Congress. You're one of 435 House members in the entire nation. And you can just wing it. You don't have to prep. You don't even, whatever comes to mind, you just say it and you stick to it. So, I mean, Scott, this is kind of freeing. What a life that would be for us.
Well, when we do your show, you send us topics and links, and we actually read it and try to figure it out.
The rest of you, right there.
Sorry, I'm so busy. Sorry.
It's all right. It's okay.
I've been on Fox News over the years, and with being a liberal pundit with these conservatives, and I always felt that too, because all they would say is, Obama's throwing someone under the bus, or this, no facts, nothing, but these were pundits. But now everyone. And by the way, on the condom thing, that was. The guy you mentioned was one person who said 15 million for the Taliban. Yesterday, or when I was flying out, Brian Sack, I think his name is, I think he's like the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, and he quoted the same thing, 15 million for the Taliban. So they not only lie, but then they lie, repeat the other lines. And it should be said, and Carolyn Levitt, the press secretary, lied and repeated it, and doubled down. What the story was, this 50 million to Gaza, which is a province in Mozambique in Africa. And this is for AIDS prevention, which they're gutting now with USAID. I mean, Amin Moeddin, who deserves some kind of Nobel Prize for his work, he said that if it was 50 million condoms in the Gaza Strip, it would be 700 condoms per person. So, but I said they keep repeating the lies, and it must be freeing in a very sick way, I guess.
I mean, Eric, do you do more preparation for your jokes? Like, would you actually go up and create a premise that isn't true about things in the news? I mean, you can create a premise about dating and stuff like that, but would you go on and can you believe Donald Trump signed this law and it's not true? He didn't sign that law at all, and then do a joke about it? It seems unfair.
Yeah, but you could do that on stage. You could just make up something, and I think most of the audience would believe it.
Right. Well, that's part of the problem.
Right.
No, but I'm saying, like, if the comedian, if you could make up the premise, it's so much easier to write the jokes. Like, can you put Donald Trump today dressed up in a Daffy Duck outfit and walked around the White House and he pooped out an egg, and then you could do 100 jokes about it, right? Be like, that was so funny. When did he do that? You go, no, I just made that up. Like, that's not fair.
Yeah, but I think the audience would believe you, though. It wouldn't matter, right?
It doesn't matter. That's not the point, Eric. I'm saying, would you do that? Would you?
I'm at this point now. I think
really wing it.
I think at this point we should just lie. They lie so much on the other side. We just make up crap. It doesn't matter anymore.
What about you, Nitha? You're a journalist. You really can't do that.
Definitely not. If I were ever to do that, I would be out of work in a second. And I always say, no offense to citizen journalism, there is a place for that. But what separates that from, journalists is the actual fact-checking research and all of that goes into it. So no, I will not be making up anything. It's just, it's fascinating because this is how I always look at it, where we are. It's Republicans, like you guys have all been saying, they double, triple down on whatever the hell it is that they're saying, whether it's true or not. And they say it with such force, such anger, such conviction, that it's about the delivery and not the substance. Whereas Democrats and the left, it's about the substance, the facts, the research, and the delivery fails. And you could see that with our leadership and why there's such a problem right now, pushing back and fighting back. Everybody's like, where's the leaders? What is Chuck Schumer doing? What is Hakeem Jeffries doing? Where are they? Should be organizing rallies. They should be doing protests every single day. They should be doing, X, Y, and Z. And you need that vocal, loud opposition, that angry, that righteous anger to oppose the fascism and all the madness that's going on. And that's what's missing. And I always like to say, Democrats like to bring a pontificating thought to a knife fight. And that's the fundamental problem of where we
Everybody has that analogy for whatever the Democrats are going to bring. I think you're right. Republicans double down. Like, if I was talking to a Republican today in Congress, I said, what's today? And he said, it's Sunday. I'm like, it's not Sunday. He goes, it's definitely Sunday. And we start arguing. He'll be like, well, it's definitely not Saturday, is it? I'm like, no, you see, it's Sunday. Like that. Joe Biden once said it was Thursday. Why would Joe Biden say it's Thursday? It's not. Joe Biden's not even here. Remember Hillary Clinton talked about a Tuesday once? I'm like, I don't know. It's like, who's on first? But getting to Nitha's point, Jon Stewart had a funny thing this week about Chuck Schumer, he showed Chuck Schumer talking about Trump being a threat. And Stewart's like, stop sending Chuck Schumer out. He's not good at this. And he goes, what's the decision-making process here? They're like, hey, who should we send out there to effectively battle one of the most savvy presidential media manipulators in history? Oh, I don't know. How about Schumer? He's uninteresting, but at least he's monotone. And they're like, oh, wait, Chuck, before you go out there, you look too young. Put on these readers and lower down your nose. Perfect. And he's like, and it's exactly right. I was watching for years. I'm like, Chuck Schumer, take an improv class. You're in New York City here. Go to UCB. Learn how to communicate. He still goes to the basement. He reads his paper. He literally said this week, because I wrote about it, he read a Musk tweet. And he goes, and his comeback was, I'm not even kidding, Schumer's comeback after he read, he goes, give me a break. I'm like, that's the best you got, is give me a break. He goes, give me a break, Mr. Musk. I'm like, in what world is give me a break, Mr. Musk, a cutting repertoire, like some kind of touche moment here? Eric, do they need to work with comedians? I mean, is there any comedy writers that could work with them? Or is it just a different messenger at this point? Like, Schumer just got to be in the basement.
Obviously, put someone like AOC out there. She's the one that needs to be out there. I mean, do you remember Schumer during the convention, the Democratic convention, and he came to the stage and he's like this weird dad energy. This guy, I mean, he cannot be the face of the party. There's just no way. And those at least take off the reading glasses, at least, you know?
They're permanent there. I think they're like a tattoo. I don't think they're real. They're always down his nose. And he was at a rally this week outside the Treasury, and he's trying to do the fight thing, and he's offbeat. I'm like, stop doing this. You're making everyone uncomfortable. Look, Scott, you're a guy from Brooklyn. Schumer's a guy from Brooklyn, but Bernie's a guy from Brooklyn. You're more like Bernie. You have more energy and feisty. Schumer, why would he think that's a good way to communicate? To go stand in the basement of the Senate, stand behind a podium and read a thing like this and think you're communicating well? I don't understand. I'm not even kidding. Objectively, why would you think that's a good idea?
Well, I mean, Schumer was my assemblyman really growing up and all that.
Wow.
It's just not his strength. He should be a behind the scenes guy, dealing whatever they do in the Senate, if there is any wheeling and dealing. And he's just not effective as a public speaker. I think Hakeem Jeffries is better, but I think there's a lot of good congressmen. At the rally the other day, Jamie Raskin is very good, and there's other people, someone I actually had never seen before. So we got to get those voices. We're just dealing in a different world. This isn't Bob Dole in 1990, whatever it was, where you had people you disagree with, but they were reasonable people who worked within the system and you debated. This is a whole different time. So the voice there, and jazz and AOC, and tactics have to change. The Republicans did a better job in the election using social media and podcasts than Democrats did. So, the Republicans were always sort of the old style, but now they're embracing newer technology in a harmful way. So you have to do that also. And as Nida said, they're flooding the zone. But it's a football term. You send the receivers out, but they could also drop the ball. And I think then, getting back to what you said earlier, they're not smart people. They're horrible people. And we need to say that. This is like, come on, let's not make it personal. They're horrible people. They're criminals. They have a criminal background. These are crimes that are being committed. So we have to approach it in that way, not play it safe. Look, I respect Kamala Harris so much. I think she would have been an excellent president, but she played it too safe, especially on the Middle East issue in Gaza. And to say this goes back to October 7th. No, it goes back 75 years. So we can't play it safe anymore. What's the point?
But don't you think AOC would be a good choice? Because the Republicans are really good at trolling us. They hate her. So she trolls them every time. That's who you want out there, because they just drive them nuts.
That's interesting.
She's a star. I can't wait until she runs, for the presidency. Or even Senate. Absolutely. And there's so many other younger folks too. That's what I was going to say, like Maxwell Frost. I'm trying to think.
Jasmine Crockett.
Yes, Jasmine Crockett. There's so many younger voices that really need to be brought to the forefront more. And I'm sorry, but if this sounds ageist or whatever, but at the end of the day, so many of these politicians cling on to power literally until death. Like, look at Ruth Bader Ginsburg and then how that goes over, right? So in every other industry, almost every other industry, you're forced to retire after a certain age. Why is it that in politics you can stay on indefinitely forever? Where is the cultivating of the younger leadership, more inclusive voices, younger voices, progressive voices? Like, you need that energy. That is such a huge base of your party, and that is what people are craving for, what they're dying for. This is not the Republican Party. You need to listen to what voters are saying, and they are saying we do not want this. And to your point, Scott, Kamala, she went on tour with Liz Cheney with the warmonger's daughter and thought that was going to be a great closing. Like, stop listening to the advisors that are telling you this nonsense. It's like Republicans are like, we're going to stab you in the eye, and Democrats are like, oh, let's reach across the aisle and work together. No.
The difference is Republicans lean into where the energy is. Like, they give the red meat because that's where the energy is. And Democrats do this intellectual thing like, well, we want to expand our base slightly while ignoring the actual where the energy of the base is, which is more to the center left and progressive, right? But look at Jasmine Crockett this week, really upset MAGA. She was on CNN and she said the GOP is all about, quote, coddling mediocre white boys, which I love that. She goes, listen, if you're competent, you're not concerned with DEI programs. She said the mediocre white boys are the only people attacking DEI initiatives because they've been beaten out by people that historically have had to work so much harder than they have. So I think this idea, MWB, we should call them, they're mediocre white boys, is a great way of putting it. They don't want any.
I did the same thing.
MWB, that's what they are.
I'm a mediocre white boy. I don't want to be in any power at all. So I'm.
I like, no, the MWB, there was NWAs, all different groups. It's like the opposite of NWA is MWB here. So,
Be a
but
white hip hop band too, is it?
it should. So, Nitha, what do you think of this idea of mediocre white boys and coddling mediocre white boys, that DEI to them is so upsetting because it really is that the least impressive people on the right who are white men who are the most upset about DEI. Because
Listen,
in their mind, they've lost they're not, it's not because they're not as good. The reason they didn't get the job in their mind, it has to be because of DEI. If you got rid of DEI, they're still going to get beaten out by people of color. They're just going to still call them, oh, DEI never went away. No, you're just not that good. I mean, not everyone's talented. Not everyone's a hard worker. Not everybody's competent.
I literally said, even before Jasmine Crockett, I said the same thing, that is just placating to the mediocre white boys. And that's also what Trump represents as well, too. Because let's compare Kamala Harris and Trump and look at like all her accomplishments and all she had to get to be at that level. And then him, and to even stand on the same stage was so insulting, competing for the highest office in the land, right? So that's why I would say even Trump represents that one of our mediocre, one of our worst, one of our incompetent can still beat out your best, can still for everybody. And he's a symbol of that as well. And I'm glad Jasmine Crockett said it, because somebody needs to call it out. I'm sorry. Let's remember why DEI was there to begin with, right? That there was disparity, that there was a lack of inclusion, there was a lack of equality. So there were fundamental reasons and systematic reasons why you needed programs and initiatives like DEI. And it's not like, people go around saying, hey, you brown person, black person, come on over. You still have to be qualified. You still have to be educated. You still have to have a certain level of whatever to be in those positions. And it's so insulting to insinuate, not even insinuate, to openly say that, hey, they're only there because the color of their skin. Like, get the hell out of here. I'm so sick of it. They're like, some of these conservatives are tweeting things like, oh, I looked in the cockpit and I saw the pilot and it looked like a DEI hire. And
Like Charlie Kirk.
So so basically, so you see a black or brown person or person of color flying the plane and now you're fearful. Really? That's what or woman, or it's just ridiculous. It's so outrageous and so insulting. And I'm glad that there's some corporations like Costco that said that they're going to stand by their DEI policies, but there's too many that are capitulating to Trump.
I agree.
And where we are.
Universities too. I'll say about that. They say diversity, equity, inclusion. They're against that because it's a wordier way of saying they're racist. I mean, it's public racism. They repeat in every. I mean, it's
dog whistle stuff.
Well, it's DEI. And by the way, since we've been on the air, I think Trump canceled Black History Month.
Are you joking?
They don't even talk about it. They
asked. I can tell if you're serious or joking.
Yeah,
I am joking, but probably give it a few minutes and we'll hear.
Last week, they asked Caroline Leavitt, the White House spokesperson, about, the White House celebrate Black History Month. And she gave like an all lives matter answer. She goes, we'll be celebrating the contributions of all Americans, of all races. So yeah, they're not at all. Black History Month is gone. But
they did put out some press release on February 1st, which, commemorating Black History Month, but they made sure that they included Clarence Thomas in the list of accomplished Black folks.
But I wrote an article a few years ago, like a year and a half ago, about the polling that showed growing anger or contempt by Republicans for Black History Month even being celebrated. Like, you see this evolution in the arc, and now it's right in our face. At some point, there's gonna be a real backlash. But go ahead, Eric. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just talking about the mediocre white boy. I mean, that guy Pete what's his name, Hesget, whatever.
Yeah.
He said that if he got confirmed, he would no longer get blackout drunk in his job. That was his selling point. So, I mean, that's the most mediocre white person. Would you imagine do that on a job interview? Like, if you give me this job, I will promise I won't get blackout drunk anymore.
Right? Like, do you have a drinking problem? I do, but if you hire me, I'm going to change everything. I'm giving up all the alcohol, and I'll be coming and I'll be sober. Are you drunk right now? I am drunk right now. But if you hire me, I will no longer drink during the day. Not at least, not between 9 and 6 if I have to stay late. So look, it's the Super Bowl Sunday. No, Nitha is a huge sports. But actually, Nitha, you might actually like sports. Do you like this? Are you a fan of either team?
I'm not a big football person. I like, basketball and boxing. Those are kind of the two. But everything else, I don't really pay attention to. So a friend of mine invited me to the Super Bowl party, and I'm like, Do I even feel like going? Am I even gonna watch? I am gonna watch the halftime show. I do want to see Kendrick and all of that. But I don't know. As far as like the teams, I'm like, whoever wins, wins.
Kendrick Lamar is so crossed into the mainstream. Even
Yeah.
I know he has a beef with Drake, and there's something deeply wrong. With I know that he's rapping about Drake, and the key in A minor. I'm like, what a great lyric. I'm like, why? I should know this. I'm not
It's
that
so
demographic.
embarrassing for Drake that like the
He's
entire
killing Drake.
country, the entire world is, celebrating, basically insulting you. I mean, it's the biggest like diss track that has made it so huge and so big. It's
And
really
won
fun.
the Grammy. I
Yeah.
mean, and it's the first time like a diss track or a beef track they were calling it in decades. It's a catchy song, and I'm like, what a great. This guy's good. He should write for Democrats. Like Schumer needs Hakeem can rap. He's actually rapped. You give
Mhm.
Hakeem some of Kendrick stuff, boom, he's going after Musk and all of them. What
That's a
about you,
good
Eric? Are
idea.
you going to watch Super Bowl at all? Are you rooting for anybody? Do you care?
Well, I want to see the Eagles win because I like how their fans react when they win. It's there might be some people eating horse poop. I'm not sure. It seemed to have happened before. It's kind of fun to watch that kind of stuff.
That's really nice because Matt's my producer's an Eagle fan, and there might be some horse poop eating. Scott, what about you? Do you anything? Are you looking forward to Taylor Swift showing up for her boyfriend? Do you care about the Eagles at all? Kansas City getting the first three-peat ever in the history of football?
I mean, I would lean towards Philadelphia, geographically, but I'm going to be in San Francisco watching the game, and it starts at 3:30 in San Francisco, so I'll actually know the score before anybody in New York. So,
So are you gonna watch it? Like, do you
I'll
care?
definitely watch it. Yeah, you watch it. It's a cultural thing. It's one of the few things we watch in real time anymore. And yeah, watch it and
I have to root for Philadelphia Eagles because of Matt, and I just think there's also this part of people want to see history. No football, no NFL team has won 3 in a row, and there's Matt right there. So last thing, I want to give everyone a chance to plug what you're working on so people can follow you. Nitha, where do you want them to follow you? What social media platform?
No, I actually detest the fact that I'm still on Twitter, but I guess I'll still plug it. It's Nida Khan NY, so it's NIDAKHANNY, and I'm sorry to still be there and be part of the
That's
madness.
fine. What about you, Eric? Where can people follow you?
I want to push Eric B. Comic on Blue Sky. Yeah, so
Eric B.
You're-
Comic. If I'm not following you, I will follow you. I'm on.
and also
I like
follow
Blue Sky a
Dean
lot.
Obeidallah Substack. I've been following that actually.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Blue Sky has really become a center left platform now. It's actually really nice, and I like it. Not that I want an echo chamber, but I want an echo chamber.
I'm
So-
on there, tried it, but it just seemed a little boring. I was like, it needs a little oomph.
Well, you can start fights with people. So,
Right.
Scott, what about you? Where can people follow your work?
by the way, I just want to say that I'm already making a stand, doing above and beyond what anybody should do. I'm actually unfriending people on Facebook. I'm still on Facebook. But unfortunately, Dean and Eric need a lot of some right-wing comics who I just have no, in the past of like, let me hear what they have to say. I don't want to hear it, and it's lies and it's ignorance, so they're gone. And I'm just going to be really make a point of getting after, Laughing Liberally is a show that, you and I, Dean, have done and love Eric to do it too. And I want to really get that going in this year because we need it. I'm not moving to any other country. I'm staying right here and we need to, comedy's more important than ever.
I agree.
Literally, it's cliche, but speak truth to power because as you said, comedy is based on truth and a premise, and that's what we need more of.
It should be. Well, I want to thank all three of you. You were great, my friends. Have a great weekend. I look forward to chatting with you in the future. We'll take a break. Be back.